Okay, so this week we have two questions. Thank you very much for those who have sent the questions in. Please do send the questions to the student inbox queries at gmail.com. We would love to hear back from you, and it can be literally be on anything. And we'd like to once again say that all questions will be anonymous. So the first question is, what are you most looking forward to in this new half term?
Main cap's got talent,
I can't
most
hear you.
likely.
Yeah,
Um,
I can. Sorry.
yeah, main cap's got talent. I'm part of the main cap committee in my school. We're organising probably our biggest fundraiser for the Fun Day, which is helping children with learning disabilities just have a fun social interaction day. And yeah, that probably is my greatest excitement really because it's a talent show, but we're organising it all. I'm probably going to get taken the mick out of, but I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun.
And do you want to explain what MenCap does in a bit more
Yeah,
detail?
sure. MenCap is basically a charity that helps children with learning disabilities basically adjust to normal life and the social situations and norms that they may occur, but those that aren't normal to them. And it gives them tools and it gives them an experience where they might feel isolated in daily activities. So it helps them basically adjust to daily life with whatever condition that they have and provide services that allow them to have as much fun as we might say have if we're not neurodivergent in that way. It's a great charity, a great cause. You can find MenCaps. The MenCap that we partner with at school is Barnet MenCap, so barnetmencap.org.uk. If you search them up, they do some great work. If you ever want to donate, they're not paying us to sponsor, but this truly is a charity that is close to my heart as someone who has neurodiversity in my family. Aniruddh, I'm sure as well, you would understand that, Barnet Men Cup, they do some great work. So if you ever want to give them a donation, just search that up and yeah.
Perfect. And so the
What
next
about
question.
you? What about you? What about
Oh,
you?
oh, oh, sorry. I think the thing I'm most looking forward to doing this half term, though we're 2 weeks in, is uh our school's annual Model United Nations conference. So this year I have been asked to be a chair, which I'm very happy about. And so yeah, it will just be a really fun 3 days, where we're going to discuss the efficacy of the United Nations. And yeah, I'm chairing with Manav and a guest chair, and yeah, it should be a really fun time.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in your committee, delegate a bit as a delegate, so it's gonna be good fun.
Yes, and we can bully Dylan. We can make him do fun stuff.
Yeah, it's gonna be good fun. Yeah, second question.
Okay, so the second question is, if you could, what would you change about your A levels in terms of content that you learn? Just one.
Okay, so I'll start because this is very easy for me. It's politics, number one. That's the A level I'm going to choose. What would I change about it? Less theory and more like practical like things around politics. I would like to have like a module on probably a bit more on ideologies rather than political science. I feel like political philosophy isn't covered as well as political science within this course. So some more things on political philosophy and maybe like with the growing age of social activism, like if we could like learn how this sort of stuff is impacting ideologies, that'd be quite interesting, probably more than anything. But the actual course itself is great. Like it's really, really good fun. It's very in depth and it's good. It's enjoyable.
Um,
You?
so similar. Well, actually, no, it's not similar. It's a completely different subject. I think I would add a bit of content to philosophy. I would love to learn more about logic, deductive reasoning, inductive reasoning, reverse reasoning, and the fourth one's escape my mind, or the four because they're four main ones.
Abductive?
Abductive, sorry. Did I say that? I can't remember.
No, you said
Um,
deductive and inductive.
yes, so it's probably abductive. And then I would also say, in terms of the history course that we do, so I study from around 1783 all the way up until the late 19th century. I would go a bit more into the. I would go a bit into the 20th century, because I think the 20th century is when we really see the fruits of industrialization really having an impact on Britain's economy, allowing it to allowing it to obtain many more colonies and become an imperial state. So looking at things such as a scramble for Africa in much more content, in much more depth, but also looking at things, looking at colonies such as Canada, which aren't really studied in much depth, and looking at the reasons why Canada and I'm trying to think of another state or Australia were given the status of dominion, um, but places like India weren't, even after the 1857 Indian Mutiny, which led to large uprising against the British Raj. That's a complete that's very
Do you know what I'd
specific
love to
to
know? Why Ethiopia was the only East African country that wasn't colonized?
yeah, that is very interesting. I mean, it had the name. What was his name beforehand? It was Abyssinia. I remember we looked at this briefly, not why it wasn't colonized, but in terms of its role.
Yeah,
And
I mean that's just interesting for me because obviously I've got East African blood in me. Like that is so interesting. The history of East Africa is something I want to do in the summer, just look at and learn. Like,
yeah, I think on that point as well. I mean, recently I looked at what's his name? We looked at the history of Tanzania, initially being Tanganyika, a German colony. However, it was lost after World War One, I believe, in the Treaty of Versailles, and was handed over to the Brits, and the Brits held control of it, and then ultimately gained its independence in the 60s, I believe, and
along
Nyerere
with
was in
Kenya.
charge of it. Um, and yeah, I think Tanzania is a very interesting example of an East African country because I believe it's also a socialist country, which is quite
Yeah.
new and interesting for that time, which is quite cool.